You don't feel time moving, you only feel its effects. Now one day you look in the mirror and your face has changed. One day you check your account and your savings have shrunk. And one day you wake up and realise the world isn't what you thought it was. But here's the truth. It wasn't sudden. It was gradual, silent and invisible. And that's how wealth works too. Not in leaps, but in compounding. Now, not in the big win, but in the small units that seem laughable until decades pass and the joke isn't funny anymore. See, the problem isn't that Satoshis are tiny, the problem is that your time frame is. Now, I just quickly want to chuck this in here. This is a free course of mine, and if you want to come and check it out, there'll be a link for this down in the description below. And it's called Sovereign by Design. See, we were taught to measure wealth in big, round numbers. $1 million, a 6-figure salary, a whole Bitcoin. Now, that conditioning didn't come from truth. It came from the fiat world, a world that inflates away your patience and sells you the illusion of the wholeness to keep you obedient. So when you see a string of zeros on a Bitcoin wallet, 0.003 Bitcoin, or 75,000 sats, or even 200,000 sats, your brain dismisses it because it's too small to matter. But the math doesn't lie, and sats aren't just scraps, they're slices of scarcity. And scarcity compounds quietly until one day the world recalibrates and everyone who thought sats were tiny realizes their perspective was microscopic. See, you weren't missing wealth, you were missing vision. See, the real problem isn't the size of your stack, it's the lens you're using to measure it. Because we've been trained to equate big with important and small with disposable. Now that bias bleeds into everything, because we chase big salaries, big houses, big numbers, because it feeds the ego's need for scale. But Bitcoin, well, Bitcoin flips that script. It doesn't reward size, it rewards patience. Now, it doesn't care if you hold 1 million sats or 1 billion or even 100,000. It only cares if you hold them long enough to let truth express itself through time. Now, a Satoshi is not small, it is dense, because every sat is compressed energy, trust, and time, all condensed into the hardest unit of value humanity has ever discovered. So when you look at your balance and dismiss it as tiny, what you're really saying is, I don't yet understand density. Because wealth in this new world won't be about how much space your number takes up on a screen, it will be all about how much truth it contains. So think about it like this. A single acorn looks like nothing, but in the right soil, with enough time, it becomes an oak tree that outlives you. Now, wealth works the exact same way, but fiat culture trains you to chase oaks and laugh at acorns. Now, that's why people gamble on lottery tickets, meme coins, or even penny stocks. Now, the number makes them feel wealthy, and the wholeness tricks their brain into believing it owns something of significance. But the scoreboard doesn't measure feelings, it measures scarcity. Now, 1 Satoshi, well, that's scarce, incorruptible, and unprintable. And it has more real potential than 1 million units of something infinite. Now, the illusion isn't in the unit, it's in your ability to wait. So go ahead and picture 2 people. The first stacks quietly, not much, just a few thousand sats at a time. Now, sometimes it feels silly. What difference will this make? But they keep going, week after week, year after year. Now the second laughs. Why bother? It's not even a whole coin. Now they keep their money in dollars, in bonds, or in whatever their bank advisor tells them is safe. But fast forward 20 years. The first has ownership in the scarcest network humanity has ever built. Now their tiny stack is now untouchable leverage. Now the second guy, well, he has digits in a system that's printed trillions more since the day they started. Now their wholeness has been inflated into irrelevance. So who looks silly now? See, the difference wasn't intelligence. It wasn't even income. It was time frame. See, unit bias doesn't just warp how you see Bitcoin, it warps how you live. You think your morning is meaningless, so you waste it. You think your attention span is tiny, so you trade it for noise. And you think your one decision today can't matter, so you delay it until tomorrow. But every sat counts, every choice compounds, and every acorn plants a tree. Now the fiat system taught you to undervalue the smallest things, because that's how it steals from you. Now the truth is, small stacked consistently becomes unstoppable. So the question isn't whether Satoshis are small, the question is whether you are willing to stretch your vision far enough to see what they become. Because in 2010, $1 bought you 10 billion Satoshis. In 2011, $1 bought you 100 million Satoshis. But today, well, $1 buys you less than 1,000 Satoshis. Now this isn't speculation, it's math, and the timeline of regret is already written. See, every generation looks back at the price chart and says, if only I had seen it sooner, if only I had stacked when it was cheap. But cheap is always in the rearview mirror, and the future always looks expensive until it doesn't. And the people who win are not the ones who time it perfectly, they're the ones who stopped laughing at the acorn and started planting. See, math doesn't care about your feelings. 2.1 quadrillion sats, 8 billion people, hundreds of millions of sats lost forever. See, most people will never own as much as they think they can, because scarcity isn't the enemy, scarcity is the opportunity. Because the earlier you shift your time frame, the earlier you step outside the trap of measuring everything in fiat illusions. So stop asking how much dollars is this worth, and start asking how much of the scarce supply do I actually own? Because the Satoshi isn't tiny, your perspective is. So here's the challenge. Before you dismiss your small stack, ask yourself, is the unit really insignificant, or is your patience underdeveloped? And before you chase something that looks bigger, ask yourself, am I playing for the ego, or am I playing for sovereignty? Because the future won't reward those who laughed at sats, it will reward those who held them. Now, not because they looked big, but because they couldn't be printed. And one day, well, when the world finally recalibrates around this truth, you'll realise sats were never tiny. Your time frame was. Now, one last time, I'm just quickly going to chuck this in here again. This is Sovereign by Design, completely free course, and if you want to check it out, there'll be a link for it down in the description below. Now, if you've made it this far, and if you're not too sure what to watch next, well, I have this playlist just here, which you can go ahead and binge watch if you enjoy watching my content, or if you want just a smaller video to watch, you can watch this one just here, which is recommended by YouTube.